Hello and welcome to the channel. My name is Jake and I'm here with you early this morning. I'm doing this recording for the Wave 2 Miyagi Championships for OP09. I'm so excited to see this tournament. I got a lot of messages of a lot of really cool things in this tournament, so it's going to be really exciting to see what comes out of this. You already know the first round, so let's not waste too much time going into this beautiful, wonderful championships that we've got today. Let me get a sip of my coffee first. It's like 6 a.m. And so here's the meta share that we've got for you in this tournament as I smush my camera just a little bit more on top with 5 in the top 16. Not really a surprise, but we have Doflamingo, right? Arguably the best deck in OP09 in this format. It's going to be really good as well, and we'll probably likely see it in this tournament. We got Rob Lucci at 3 again. Not really a surprise. Also, it's pretty much the counter to Doflamingo, I would say, in this early game. So 3 of them being very nice. 2 Marshall D Teach, I believe that is. 2 of them very nice. We saw it in the 3v3b showcase and how strong that deck could be, and it's having another good showing here. Another 2 for Black Yellow Luffy, one of the more popular decks and stronger decks of this format. And then 2 of Enel. Enel being a very interesting one. We've got 1 each of 2 decks that we have not seen yet on the channel and through these Japan championships. We've got Shanks and also Buggy. So my personal favorites, I'm cheering for the Shanks, I'm cheering for the Buggy. I would love to also see Marshall D Teach again in this tournament, mostly because in the last game that we saw against the Red Purple Luffy, it wasn't the cleanest game. I feel like there wasn't a lot to do for the Red Purple Luffy. A little bit of an unfortunate starting hand. So I would love to see another game, kind of see Marshall D Teach battle a deck that is more consistently playing some cards, especially like Doflamingo in that matchup. But we've got the matchup here for you today. Oh, it's gonna be, oh nice, it's gonna be Buggy. Buggy, one of the new leaders in OP09, is gonna be so fun to watch, I hope, in this one. And I think I saw as well that Buggy is matched up against Doflamingo. So let me read you Buggy's leader effect for anyone who does not know. Let's see. Activate main. You may rest 5 Dawn and discard 1 card from your hand. Play up to 1 character with the cross guild type from your hand. So cheating out a bunch of different characters, and especially at more than 5 Dawn, right? If you've got a character at 7 Dawn or something like that, you're going to be able to play it down just for 5. You do have to trash a card in your hand though, so this deck is going to really have to balance playing down these big giant body characters, and on top of that, drawing cards. You really can't do Buggy's leader effect until you're at the 5 Dawn turn. So if you're the Doflamingo player, right, you're kind of like breathing a sigh of relief on that. It's going to be curious as well because the Doflamingo's game plan is Swarm, and the Buggy's game plan, at least through the leader effect, is also to kind of swarm, right? Maybe swarm with some bigger bodies. So it's going to be really cool to see how this matchup goes. I'm so excited for this one. I'm going to try to give you the best commentary as possible for English, unofficial commentary, that is, because if you do not know, I am watching the official live stream of this tournament. And if you want to go check out the official live stream as well, you can go check out the description below where I've got the link, as I always do. Man, I love that Buggy alternate art leader. It looks so good. And also that new starter deck Doflamingo that guy's got rocking right there. Let me know if you've got your starter deck cards as players get their starting hands. We'll see. I think the Buggy is going first, so that's probably your curve, right? If you think about the Buggy, because you want to be on the odd to hit 5 as soon as possible. We got a couple 1-drops in hand, a couple of them being the Mr. 3s, right? That's basically your searcher card in this one. And then we're also playing that searcher event in here, that cross guild searcher event 1-drop. So plenty of opportunities to find the cards that we want alongside that blocker Mihawk. And then also, what was that other card? This card right here is the Kabaji. So Very excited in this one, keeping this hand a lot of different search options, especially for the early game to find those huge pieces to play down. And then moving into the Doflamingo's hand, they got a couple things to reorder with the Perona Buggy and Boa Hancock. Some of those cards you may have if you bought starter deck 17 earlier this week. And then also a Jozu and Trafalgar Law. I know a couple people have been playing with Jozu, and a pretty decent card, I would say. I know Eric Quintana was playing Doflamingo with Jozu, so not something that you see in every package, but still a great card. So we'll see how much it influences this game. And going to go ahead, play that Mr. 3 first. Going to be looking at the top 4, so it's not actually the top 5, just the top 4 in this one, and going to find a card with Cross Guild or Baroque Works type, except Mr. 3. So looking at this Dracula Mihawk, really just going to be stacking the hand with those cards, and also a 4-drop Mihawk in that top 4 if you saw that. But passing off the turn, gonna grab that 6-drop blocker. That's so good. Doflamingo gonna be doing its usual reordering of the top 5. Going to be looking around. You've got a Gecko in there. Perfume Femur could be very nice. Edward Weevil in there too. You probably want to set yourself up to be able to use leader effect on Edward Weevil, and a Trafalgar Law from that new starter deck also in that top spot. So no Jinbei right now. Jinbei being one of the premier cards to kind of break Doflamingo as a deck. Nothing in the kind of top 10 of their starting hand and deck. But now passing it off to the Buggy. The Buggy maybe playing these searches again at this point. Probably deciding right now whether they want to play the Searcher event or the Searching Mr. 3. I'm going to opt for the event first. It's the same thing except only Cross Guild. It's not Baroque Works as well on top of that, like the Mr. 3. So is going to be grabbing that 7-drop Buggy. That 7-drop Buggy. Very nice card right there. That's that bonus Buggy that we got in, I believe it was World Shonen Jump magazine. The Buggy that cannot attack, but it plays extra characters from hand. So going to be curious to see if they play that down, and is a non-countered card. So obviously you would probably want to play it down, but is going to attach the rest of the Dawn, opting for only 1 search in this turn. Decides the 7,000 power swing is better. And so now moving into the Doflamingo. The Doflamingo having a Charlotte Pudding is going to be real nice, especially for potentially being able to go get rid of stuff in this hand, right? A lot of searches in here that Pudding is going to put that all back and mess that all up. But this 7k swing playing down the Edward Weevil is going to hit for a life, so 4 life apiece, and ending the turn off with this Sengoku search. Going to be finding some important cards. There's that Jinbei that we saw in there, as well with a Marshall D. Teach. Marshall D. Teach opting for that grab, and that kind of makes sense, right? You've got a couple cards that you can play off of leader effect in your hand, right? The Boa Hancock, another Edward Weevil in your hand. So grabbing the Teach, going to be able to play that down next turn and be able to use that effect, that activate main, to use for the leader effect is just going to be really strong. I love Teach in this deck. I'm a big Teach proponent in the Doflamingo decks. But Buggy on the 5 Dawn turn is going to go ahead and just swing 5 right here. So we'll see if they counter out with a little 1k or potentially 2k. It looks like maybe thinking of just using a 2k. So very interesting to see a 2k be used down, but opting to keep the different 1ks that you have. Very good for your game plan. So going to be resting 5 right now, and after drawing a Kaya, so Kaya, a really nice draw, is going to pitch that Kabaji and play that 7-drop Buggy. So I'm going to tell you that 7-drop Buggy, if your leader is Buggy, all 3 and 4 cost characters cannot attack. So that's going to be huge for this Doflamingo game plan. Gonna have to find something like a Kaido or a Red Rock or something to get rid of this Buggy on the field, and on play up to 1 6 cost or lower cross skill type character from your hand and choosing to play that Dracul Mihawk. That Dracul Mihawk has that on play of draw 2, discard 1, so opting to discard that other Dracul Mihawk that's in the hand. That's a promo Dracul Mihawk, if you are curious of what that is, 4-cost 5,000 power character. So a really great card and a really strong card, I would say, on that. Throwing that promo Buggy down makes this Weevil not able to attack. The only thing you can attack with right now is your leader. And looking at this hand as well that the Doflamingo player has, the only hand that, or the only cards, I'm sorry, I'm baffled by this Buggy's effect. The only cards that you're going to be able to swing with are the Jozu, right, and leader, or I guess you could swing with your little searcher characters as well. This 5,000 power Sengoku powered up with the Dawn is going to go ahead and swing. The Mihawk being 7,000 power blocker is going to go ahead and block, and then playing down that Marshall D Teach, going to be using that effect, going to put a card on the top of their life. Going to be curious to see what they put. They opt for the Boa Hancock. I do like the Boa being a blocker, right? If you play Edward Weevil, yes, you get to draw a card, but you're not going to be able to do anything with it. It's just going to be a body on the field. So putting the blocker at least gives you the ability to play a little bit of defense on this. And so going to be using that Boa, using that top 3, going to reorder that, look for something good. It's going to be Jinbei, Law, and Buggy. I think the only new card in this 3 restack. Oh no, I'm sorry. There is a bunch of cards because we played the Sengoku Searcher, kind of solidified our stack. That's correct. And so going to be putting the 3 to the bottom, maybe opting for Jinbeis or something, trying to, or not Jinbeis, maybe finding Jozus, trying to find some bigger bodied characters. And after fulfilling that Boa effect of putting a Rested Dawn on the leader, that 8k swing is going to go through to get to another life. So 3 life left for the Buggy. Is just going to do a searcher on searcher violence right here. This Mr. 3 hitting the Sengoku. And we'll see now at 7 Dawn if the Buggy is going to play anything else through the leader effect. It got a couple different opportunities alongside it, including stuff like another blocker, right? Going to be very good in here, but you've got a Jozu of your own. Jozu may be very nice to use, especially on the other side, to be able to bump another card, put it away from your opponent's side of the field, especially this pesky blocker. So it is going to be curious. You've got a couple different other options in here, like a Crocodile, right? That Crocodile, I believe that's 7-drop, 7,000 power, plays another type of Baroque Works Crosswill type character. So this deck really just spamming the board entirely, and this 5k swing just going to be countered by the Gecko right here. And so now looks like maybe swinging with the blocker says, you know what, I feel pretty good right now, not needing this blocker to be up on the field, especially if I play another one. So maybe going to be swinging this 7 and this 7,000 power swing going to go in, is going to take a life, going to put each player back to 3. And so now going to be resting all 7, and there goes the Crocodile. The Crocodile with that, play up to 1 character from your hand with the cost of 5 or less, and including a Baroque's Work or Cross Guild type effect on there. And so is going to play that other Crocodile down. He's going to be reading the card. I'm going to read the card too real quick. This Crocodile, a 5-cost 7,000 power character. Your turn on play, if your leader's type includes Cross Guild or Baroque Works, place up to 1 character with 2,000 power less to the bottom of its owner's deck. So bottom decking what looked like, did they bottom deck anything? I don't think they bottom decked anything on that one. I would have, maybe it was the Sengoku actually. I thought the Sengoku might have been KO'd by the Mr. 3, but not really having anything as well except your own Mr. 3 to bottom deck, and you honestly don't want to bottom deck your Mr. 3, right? We just saw a strategy of Doflamingo swinging with the little 1-drop searchers if they happen to play like another Perona or another Sengoku, right, to be able to do the restacking or searching. They might try to battle that Mr. 3, so you definitely want to keep that guy alive as long as possible, unless you're playing over it with another character, right? Because you can only have 5 on the field, and Doflamingo just in a really tough spot right now. This buggy has really put him on the back foot, I feel like, with all of these insane cards. And so Jozu is going to be the one that comes down. Jozu is going to go ahead and is he going to put a character back into his hand? Jozu, if you do not know, you have to return one of your characters other than this card to your hand. So is going to put back the Edward Weevil. The Weevil, a good option, at least in this situation, to put back, right? Because it's just a big block. It's a big brick. It can't swing at all. And so that Jozu is going to be able to put the Crocodile back in hand. And Jozu is going to be able to swing eventually. So going to be using that Teach to put on the top of the deck and give 2 Dawn to the Doflamingo. Going to be attaching one more just because you don't have anything else to do with your Dawn. It is going to swing 8,000 power using that leader effect. Going to play down another Boa blocker. And so at the end of this restack is going to be a 9,000 power swing. So it's going to be curious to actually see if they're swinging at life or the Dracul Mihawk. We'll see right here, but putting that stack at the bottom is going to go ahead at life, is going to knock him down to 2 life in this game. Looks like a lot of bricks in this buggy's hand right now. A little bit of counter, but a lot of non-counter cards. I don't know if this deck usually just traditionally plays a lot of non-counter cards, right? It could be the case, but we move into the next turn right here. Buggy now at 9 Dawn right here, a couple different swinging options and a nice 7,000 power blocker on field. We'll see. It'd be nice at this point if he had another, like if he had like a 4 cost, right, to be able to play on the field to combo with this 5. I think your ideal turn for the buggy is rest 5 for a character and then rest 5 through your leader effect to play a character that is bigger than 5. That seems to be a pretty good game plan, but is going to, at least at this point, maybe spread out the Dawn a little bit and then use the rest to cheat out a big character. And so is thinking about resting 5 maybe for that leader effect. Might be nice to get another blocker on the field, especially with this Jozu. This Jozu is going to be an easy 1k counter on a block to be able to not run out of life. But first, just swinging with that Crocodile. I think this is a fine game plan, kind of test the waters, see what they do on this. You definitely don't want to hit off of life a gravity blade or something, or a red rock on something that you want. And so is going to be blocking with that Boa, it looks like. Did he just block with that Boa? Is he opting to potentially counter out of this? And it looks like he is pitching a 2k to save this Boa Hancock right there. So Doflamingo as well having a ton of brooks. Looks like the buggy is on the offensive right now. It's going to be really curious to see how this game develops. I've been very excited to see this buggy deck. Been so cool to watch. And so at 9, still a full 9 Dawn left. Haven't used any of them. Might think of going on the offensive with this Dracul Mihawk again, this little blocker, but you definitely don't want to go too low on life if you're the buggy. You want to have some defense up because of Perfume Femur, right? Perfume Femur going around blockers to make somebody unblockable. Going to be really good for maybe sealing a win in this game. And so swinging 7,000 power with this blocker Mihawk. Going to be taking the life. I'm sorry, it's early in the morning, a big yawn. And so probably I would think playing down another Mihawk. If I was him, I'd play down another Mihawk on this turn right now. And so going to be attaching 2 right here. Still has 7 Dawn left. After this 7,000 power swing is going to go at life. Again, no blockers. So looks like, especially looking at this hand, not enough counter to be able to get out of this one. Going to go down to 1 life at this point. Going to take that life. Going to go to 1. Does find a Trafalgar Law 1k, which is nice. But with that Jozu right there, that Jozu is going to bottom deck put back in the hand the Mr. 3 to be able to put Jozu back in hand. So only 1 swing is coming down from this Doflamingo. Jozu being a great play, actually. And then with that Mr. 3 that you just put back in hand, go ahead, do another search. Kabaji being a 2k in this deck. Going to give you more counter right now. So Doflamingo now at a full 10 Dawn. What do you do if you're the Doflamingo right here? It's going to be really tough. I feel like you want to play the Jozu, right? Because the Jozu is going to be able to keep up pace with your bodies. But do you play as well the Charlotte Pudding on top of that, right? You know that the hand is stacked for this Buggy. They have so many different cards in hand. And so going to start out with that Charlotte Pudding being a premier blue card, honestly, in most all blue decks, especially Doflamingo decks. Just really good for when your opponent's hand size is huge to be able to reset it entirely. This shuffle effect being very strong, in my opinion, in One Piece. There's not a lot of them out there, and One Piece has a little bit more filtering, in my opinion, than draw. So if you can reset that filtering, especially in a late part of the game like this, gonna bode really well for you in the rest of this match, and we'll see what they draw off of this top 5. So doing a little bit of cutting right here in this, just shuffling up the deck a little, trying to, you know, prevent some cheating, trying to shuffle very neatly and nicely their opponent's deck to make sure they don't ruin their beautiful anniversary sleeves that they got, and drawing the top 5. A couple 2K counters right here. We see a couple emojis in this hand, so you're kind of sitting pretty, I think, at this point. You got a 7-drop crocodile right there, and also another 5-drop. What is that other 5-drop that they've got in hand? If we get another look, I'll try to get you a game plan of what that is. But the Doflamingo looks like they're going to be swinging potentially 7, but is going to go ahead and use that Marshall D Teach effect, put in Edward Weevil on the top of the deck. I think maybe Boa is your better option with the game plan that you've been running, right? Put that Boa Hancock on the top, be able to swing 8,000 with no blockers on the field through your leader effect, and maybe do a little bit of reordering, a little bit of searching, right? Looking at the top 3 is a little bit more valuable, I feel like, than the Edward Weevil, because one, the Edward Weevil can't swing, but on top of that, that might get you one step closer to finding, you know, like a big body in this game. And so going to find a Jozu right there. We'll see if they keep the Jozu on top to be able to find in the next turn, as well as that 2K crocodile and a Perona. So going to be putting it on the top again, prioritizing that Jozu. Is going to go ahead and attach that Rested Dawn to the leader, swing 8,000 at lead, and so 2 emojis right here, gonna keep him at 2 life. Very nice. Not expecting any more swings in this one. Is going to go ahead with 5 Dawn right here. What are they going to do with the 5 Dawn? Swing with the Teach, and they are going to go ahead, swing 8,000 power with this Marshall D Teach right here, attaching 5 Dawn to it. Is going to go ahead and take that life. 1 life left. Going to be grabbing Mr. 2, I believe. Mr. 1, I'm sorry. Mr. 1 off of life. That's a 5/7 vanilla right there. And that 10 cost Buggy is going to come to hand. So a little scary at this point, actually, for the Buggy. You don't have another Dracula Mihawk blocker because you didn't play that other Dracula Mihawk in the last turn, instead opting for the Jozu, right? You've only got 1 blocker on field with potentially 2 characters that can swing in the Marshall D Teach and the Doflamingo. So we'll see what they decide to do with the full 10 Dawn. They do have a 10-drop Buggy on their hand, but they need to be able to have 5 characters with the cost of 5 or more, or the Buggy returns to the bottom of the deck, which they do on the field right now if they decide to play that guy down, that nice 12,000 power character, because all these other characters right here are 7/6, 7/6, right? Playing over that Mr. 3 to be able to put the 10-drop Buggy. So we'll see if they do put the 10-drop Buggy on the field. It would give kind of a countdown, I feel like, to the Doflamingo. The problem with the Doflamingo right now is you have a whole bunch of blockers at this point, right? 2 blockers on the field. Going to be very interesting to see how the rest of this game develops. Kind of a closer game plan than I originally gave it credit for, I feel like. And so maybe attaching 1 Dawn and swinging at the Teach. If they do swing at the Teach with this Mr. 3. They will not be able to play the 10 drop buggy for the rest of this turn. So maybe just playing around a little bit more, just clarifying, hey, I have 10 Dawn right in this turn. And so is going to be attaching 1 to the crocodile. Going to be sweet. Did they just swing 8? I think they just swung 8 at the Marshall D Teach right now. So maybe opting for trying to get them to block. It may seem a little weird at first that you would go so high to this Marshall D Teach, but think about it this way. If the way that you lose this game potentially is because of Marshall D Teach and Doflamingo, right, the only 2 characters on the board that can swing, it would actually make sense that you swing so high at that Teach, and the higher that you go, right, we already saw the Doflamingo block and counter out of a swing previously, so trying to get them to do that again, right? Try to get them to do exactly what just happened, blocking but not countering out of the 8,000 power swing, and so doing another 8,000 with this Jozu, really focusing in on this Teach, right? It's either the attacking threat goes away or a blocking threat goes away, and so choosing to let that KO go right there, letting the Marshall D Teach go. You have 8 Dawn left at this point, so maybe thinking of playing the leader effect, right? Putting a 5 cost character down, or maybe just playing one of the 5 cost characters, or maybe the 7 later here shortly. But this 8,000 power swing, going to be swinging at that blocker, is going to take it out and going to be using that leader effect, pitch that 7 cost buggy, and play the 10 drop. That's right, with the leader effect, you can play a 10 drop buggy, and so you're going to be returning a character to the bottom of your opponent's deck, going to be that other boa blocker, and with that big 10,000 character on the field, unless a Rush Usopp comes in, there is going to be no way for this crocodile to win the best deck in format. Honestly, getting sauced right now by this buggy. It's been really cool to see this buggy in action and how this game plan has worked. I would have loved to see the Doflamingo and buggy matchup if the Doflamingo saw like a 4-cost Jinbei, right? Like I was mentioning earlier, such a good card in the game plan, so influential. But it is going to be really cool to see, and don't worry, we'll have the deck list, or at least what I think is the deck list. We don't have an official one yet, but I will get you something as close as possible based on what we see. And so, going to just go ahead and play this Jozu, because Japanese players usually don't scoop at this point. Most players, I think, especially in America, would scoop right now. Going to be putting that pudding into hand, but could play that pudding back down. And so that Dracula Mihawk is going to go back to hand. That nice blocker, right, being put back through the Jozu effect, is going to take the rest of the 4 Dawn. What do you do with the rest of the 4 Dawn? You don't have enough counter to be able to defend. And so is going to go and attach 3 to the Doflamingo, and maybe just go ahead and use leader effect, right? Just use that one last Dawn to play down a character. Just find something, I guess, a hope and a prayer. And so is going to be swinging 8,000 at what I assume is life, but is going to play down that crocodile 2k character off of the life, and no other Dawn left for that on play effect. Going to be pitching some counter right there to be able to get out of that swing. I think he was swinging the 8,000 at like the crocodile right here, because he pitched 2 1Ks, I believe. And so here we go. The rest of the swing right here, going to be going in for game. This buggy's going to be able to get this one. And so let's see how they distribute the Dawn right here. You do have to hit twice, right? And with 7, 8 cards in hand for the Doflamingo, it's not like that this is easy, right? So that 12k going to be taken, right? 12,000 power swing, probably generally a no-brainer. And so going to be going in with the rest, I think, especially because you got a bunch of 7ks on the field with this Jozu and the crocodile. Just swing 7, just swing another 7, and then go in with the big 15 on lead to seal the game. Definitely don't have enough cards at that point right there. Maybe worried about stuff like the 0 cost event. Zero cost event is something that we've started to see a little bit in Doflamingo decks, so maybe just trying to proc that as soon as possible, but going to be swinging 15 at lead is going to take the win. Buggy being our first winner in this Wave 2 Miyagi Championships for OP09, the first showcase of OP09 Buggy in this one, taking down the warlord that has reigned the top of the meta. So very, very exciting. Loved that game. Loved seeing that deck. I just sound like a broken record at this point, but let's see some deck lists. And so this is probably pretty close to what the Doflamingo had in their deck. It's not exact because we don't have that list as of yet, but if you're looking for what was potentially changed, we know that this Doflamingo played a Jozu, and I don't believe we ever saw a Gum Gum Rain zero cost event. So if you're looking for what the quote-unquote easy switches for the deck to be as close as possible to what was streamed in this match, probably just switch this and maybe a Gravity Blade Raging Tiger for a 1 or 2 of Jozu. Gravity Blade Raging Tiger, though, very, very good card, especially in this meta with Doflamingo running the top tables, is a very good card to counter your own mirror match. We did not see the strength of Jinbei in that game, and it would have been curious to see how that would have gone, especially because Jinbei, right, forces your opponent on the defense, right, utilizing the counter cards, and especially with, you know, the lack of swings that we saw, it could have been curious to see if Jinbei could have been played a little early before that 7-drop promo Buggy came out that really negated all of the Doflamingo swings. So is very cool. This is definitely a deck, if you're looking to play in the West, a deck that is going to be at the top tables again for the 8.5 meta, and is also just a great one for OP09. So as I've been saying before, if you don't have your 7 Warlords of the Sea type cards, you probably want to get them. All right, so this is what I've got and what I think is probably pretty close to the Buggy list that was played in this tournament. We don't have the exact deck list yet. That's not in public information, but we did see through a couple different Mr. 3 searches and a little bit of the deck. We kind of have an idea of what this deck looks like, right? Your 2K options in here, at least from what we saw, Kaya and Moji, some very, very good 2K options. Your searchers being Mr. 3, and we saw at least one of the cross guild events, so probably I would say at least 2, and only a couple other non-searchable cards, I would say, through this deck. One being Sanji's Pilaf, something that we've seen time and time again, right? Most notable in Nami, but also played in stuff like Marco, is made its way. We did confirm that this card was in the Buggy deck, and I feel like, honestly, it's probably a 4 of, right? You see it in life. It is such a good trigger, and overall just a really good card in general, being able to draw 2, especially on some of those more awkward turns, right? Like a 8 Dawn turn. Let's say you rest 3 to draw 2, and you net 2 cards from playing this guy. So being able to combo it with your leader effect of resting the rest of the 5, trashing one of the 2 cards that you got off Pilaf in your hand, and play one of your big characters, is really, really cool in my opinion for comboing. The card that I think was the mystery one, the mystery 5-drop in the deck, was this Mr. Daz 1 Baroque Works. Again, just having a really good filtering effect of draw 2, trash 1, searchable because it is Baroque Works, but your leader being 4 Emperors and Cross Guild doesn't give you that Baroque Works boost. And well, yeah, the Sanji's Pilaf and the Buggy, you don't have a ton of event cards anyway in this one. We did confirm Jozu was in the deck. Jozu just being a really, really good blue card in general that we see in Boa, we see in Marco, we see now in Buggy, and also Crocodile. I'm sorry, Doflamingo. I always get those 2 mixed up for some reason. So honestly, just a playset of rares you definitely want to have in your collection in OP08. I mean, it's pretty easy to get them. Kabaji being another 2K character, another searchable 2K character, gives me the idea of about 12 2Ks in this deck, and that's probably a decent number as well, thinking about it, because Buggy wants to trash cards from hand. So a lot of times you might be having to pitch some of these more 1k counters, right? Especially like these two Mr. Ones, these Daz Bones right here, this one being a vanilla, this one being just a nice draw to trash one. You might have to do a Mr. 3 if you've got a pretty solidified hand, or maybe like the promo Mihawk right here. This promo Mihawk did not hit the field, but has a nice activate main of returning the character to the hand and playing another 5-cost character on the field. So especially like on a 4 Dawn turn, right? Or maybe some awkward stages in the game if you want to play like a Jozu down at the late game. If you've got a Dracul Mihawk on the field, or maybe you played this Dracul Mihawk earlier with your 6 and you've got enough cross-guild type characters, you can switch him for something else in the 5-cost category, which can work really well with this other promo, the Crocodile right here. And then the star of at least this match, this Buggy right here, the 7-drop promo Buggy. It can attack, but since your leader is Buggy, cost 3 and 4 type characters cannot attack. So wow, just incredible. And then also having a swarm effect on top of that of playing a 6 cost or lower works great with the blocker Dracul Mihawk, the Jozu, right? Another great card, or any of these other cards that you would want to play from hand, right? A bunch of different characters on your field. And then this guy right here, the 7-cost Crocodile, great as well. One thing that we could see in this list, in my opinion, is the 0-cost event, the Gum Rain that I was mentioning, right? You have a couple different bricks in this deck, being the Crocodile, the Buggy, the 10-drop Buggy, right, in this one, and also different event cards as well as that blocker Dracul Mihawk. So Gum Rain might be really nice as a kind of filter the hand a little bit, but also just giving away bricks to gain 3,000 power for no cost of Dawn whatsoever. Could just be a really good card, not searchable at all, but might just be something that you find very nicely off of the draw. And so that's going to be it for this round. Thank you so much for watching. I super appreciate you joining me. That was very exciting to see a brand new deck, and we still have more rounds to go in this tournament. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe, all that stuff for more. Hoping to hit 10K by the end of the year. So if you wouldn't mind, if you like the content, please give me a little shout out, and make sure to check back for the next rounds coming soon. I don't know exactly about tomorrow because I got a busy Sunday. I got to record stuff with a pro trading card game player and whatnot, but I'll be able to get you these rounds as soon as possible as usual. And thank you again so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed this one, and we'll see you later.